Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, Benny comedian.
There's a side of Johnny Carson that almost no one ever saw. He wasn't just the smooth, witty king of late-night television or the man who made The Tonight Show a national obsession for 3 unforgettable decades. Behind that charm was a hidden story, a secret list of people he quietly swore off forever. Before his death, Carson shocked a few close insiders by revealing something wild. There were 7 guests he hated so much, he made sure they never appeared on his show again. Some were Hollywood powerhouses, others were friends who crossed a line. But once you hear the first name, you'll understand that Carson's calm exterior was hiding a storm of grudges and bitterness no one expected. Before we jump in, don't forget to hit subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Now let's get straight into it. Wayne Newton, the backstage clash that blew the roof off. Out of every guest who ever sat under those studio lights, none set Johnny Carson off like Wayne Newton. This wasn't just gossip. It was a full-blown confrontation that rocked NBC. Newton's story stands at the top of the list for one huge reason. He did something nobody else dared to do. He faced Johnny Carson head-on, ready for a real showdown inside the network's own walls. For years, Carson had thrown jabs at Newton during his monologues, mocking his boyish looks, his flashy Las Vegas image, and even dropping slick little hints about his sexuality. And back in the late 70s and early 80s, that kind of talk could destroy a performer's career. Newton stayed cool at first, ignoring the digs, but when Carson went too far, right there on live national TV, everything changed. The jokes turned personal, biting, and downright hurtful. Newton didn't call to complain. He didn't send a manager or a lawyer. He marched straight into NBC studios, slipped past security like he owned the place, and walked right into Carson's office. The air was tense. Newton locked eyes with the most powerful man in late-night TV and leaned in, voice low but steady. "You can joke about my singing, you can joke about my hair, but if you ever joke about my sexuality again, I'll kick your ass." That moment sent shockwaves through the building. Carson slowly rose from his chair, towering over Newton, and said coldly, "Get out of my office before I have you thrown out." The instant Newton walked out, the decision was made. Johnny Carson banned him for life. After that explosive showdown, Johnny Carson made sure Wayne Newton's name was wiped clean from The Tonight Show. He gave one cold, simple order to his staff: never book him again. That was it. Newton had crossed the ultimate line. He'd threatened the king of late night on his own turf. The punishment was swift and brutal. Without those national appearances, Newton's mainstream spotlight started to fade. His Las Vegas career kept him afloat, sure, but his big-time fame never hit the same level again, not even close. The two men never made peace. Years later, Newton looked back and said, "I'd do the same thing again." That one line proved it. Neither side ever forgave, and the grudge stayed locked in place forever. Joan Rivers. The betrayal. Johnny Carson couldn't forgive. When it came to Joan Rivers, this wasn't a misunderstanding or a TV rivalry gone wrong. This was straight-up betrayal. The very moment Carson saw her name splashed across a Variety headline announcing she was launching her own late-night show, and she hadn't told him first, their friendship ended on the spot. Instantly. Completely. Permanently. This wasn't just any guest stepping out of line. Joan Rivers was special to Johnny. She wasn't just another comedian, she was his discovery. He had mentored her, defended her, and given her the spotlight that made her a household name. He even fought NBC executives to make her a regular guest host and famously told the audience, "You're going to be seeing a lot of her." And America did, all because Johnny believed in her. That's why her move hit him like a bomb going off. When Fox came knocking in 1986 with an offer for her own show, Joan was torn. She'd heard whispers that NBC was secretly planning for Carson's eventual replacement, and her name wasn't even being considered. At nearly 50, she feared her window was closing. Desperate to stay relevant, she signed the deal, but she never picked up the phone to tell Johnny. Then Fox leaked the story before she could break the news herself. Carson read the headline, froze, and said in a low, hurt whisper, "She didn't even call me." That was the moment something inside him snapped. Staffers said they'd never seen him look so betrayed. Within hours, he gave a chilling order: erase her from everything. Old clips, deleted. Mentions of her name, band, guest hosts, forbidden to bring her up. When her assistant tried to reach the show, Carson's team had one message straight from the boss himself: "She's dead to me." For the rest of Johnny Carson's life, that wound between him and Joan Rivers never healed. Her career took a sharp dive after leaving The Tonight Show. Her marriage crumbled, and the industry that once cheered her on turned its back. Years later, she publicly admitted, "Losing Johnny was like losing my father." But for Carson, the chapter was already closed. The moment she didn't make that call, she was gone from his world forever. Charles Grodin, the guest who dared to humiliate Johnny Carson, lived. Now imagine this. What kind of guest would have the nerve to look Johnny Carson in the eye and ask if he even cared about his own job? Only one man ever crossed that line: Charles Grodin. He was the guest who managed to twist Johnny's signature smile into something cold and furious. And he did it live, in front of millions. From the second Grodin sat down, Carson felt the tension brewing. Something was off. Grodin wasn't there to laugh, promote, or play along. He was there to challenge Johnny on his own stage. His whole style was built around sarcastic, confrontational comedy, but this time, he didn't just push the limits. He stomped all over Carson's pride. At first, it started small. Grodin rolled his eyes, interrupted questions, and acted annoyed like he couldn't care less. Then he kicked things up. He accused Carson of not reading his book, of asking lazy questions, of coasting through interviews. Johnny tried to keep it cool, assuming it was all part of the bit. But then Grodin's tone changed. The jabs got meaner, sharper, and suddenly, it wasn't funny anymore. Then came the line that froze the room. With a smirk on his face, Grodin leaned forward and asked, "Do you actually care about any of your guests, or is this just a paycheck for you?" The audience laughed nervously, not sure if they were supposed to. Carson didn't laugh. His grin turned into stone. Everyone in that studio could feel it. Grodin had just hit Johnny where it hurt most. For decades, Carson had hidden his emotional distance behind charm and timing. People saw him as warm and funny, but off camera, he was known for being private and distant. Grodin exposed that in one brutal sentence, and he did it live. During the next commercial break, Carson didn't raise his voice, didn't argue, didn't even look angry. He just turned to his producer and said quietly, "We're done with that." That was it. Grodin's fate was sealed. He was never invited back. No warning, no explanation, just silence. To Johnny, it wasn't about a joke gone wrong. It was about respect. Respect for the host, the show, and the image he'd built for decades. Grodin had crossed that invisible line and tried to play it off like it was part of the act. But Johnny didn't buy it. Years later, Grodin admitted, "Maybe I went too far." But by then, it was way too late. That bridge had already burned to ashes. Next up, Shelley Winters. The night she threw a drink in Johnny's face. There are moments in TV history that hit so fast and so hard, they stopped the entire room cold, and Shelley Winters delivered one of those unforgettable moments. It was the kind of chaos Johnny Carson never forgot, never forgave, and made sure never happened again. The tension started the moment Shelley walked onto the set. Something was off. She wasn't her usual glamorous, confident self. The Hollywood legend fans adored. That night, she was agitated, restless, and clearly not in full control. Carson noticed it right away. He tried to guide the moment, keeping things smooth and light, hoping to get through the interview without things going off the rails. But Johnny never got that chance. As he tried to crack a gentle, harmless joke, Shelley's whole expression flipped. Her smile disappeared, and her eyes hardened. Before the audience could even process what was happening, she snatched up her glass of whiskey and hurled it straight at Johnny Carson's face. The crowd gasped. You could hear a pin drop. Johnny just sat there, soaked and stunned, whiskey dripping down his suit, humiliated in front of millions watching live. It was one of the rare times in his entire career where Johnny completely lost that cool, unshakable composure he was famous for. The second the cameras cut to commercial, he stood up, furious, drenched, and silent. No jokes, no smiles. He just walked straight off the set without saying a word. Security moved fast, and Shelley Winters was escorted out of the building before the show even came back from break. When Johnny returned, he had changed into a fresh suit and forced himself to continue like nothing happened. But behind the scenes, the decision was already made. His tone was cold and final when he told his producers, "Never book her again." There was no discussion, no hesitation. Shelley Winters was officially banned from The Tonight Show. To Johnny, it wasn't just about the drink. It was about respect. You didn't humiliate the host, you didn't disrespect the stage, and you definitely didn't cross the line between playfulness and public embarrassment. That night, Shelley broke all 3 rules in one wild moment, and Johnny made sure she paid the price. Shelley Winters shattered that unspoken rule live on national television, and Johnny Carson never forgot it. After that infamous drink toss, she was done. Shelley never appeared on The Tonight Show again, and Johnny never softened his stance. To him, that whiskey wasn't just a drink. It was a direct hit to his pride, his dignity, and the spotless reputation he'd built over decades in the spotlight. The ban stayed in place until the day he retired, and it didn't end there. Even long after, her name was still off limits. Truman Capote, the drunken meltdown that ended his late-night career. If Shelley Winters crossed the line with a drink, Truman Capote blew past it entirely. He didn't end up on Johnny Carson's blacklist because of a feud or harsh words. No, Capote's downfall came from one disastrous night that left everyone in shock. It was the kind of moment that made Johnny realize, maybe for the first time, that a single guest could completely derail The Tonight Show in front of millions of viewers. The warning signs showed up the second Capote walked onto the stage. He staggered a little, his eyes unfocused, his words slurred before he even reached the chair. The audience chuckled, thinking it was part of his quirky, eccentric charm. But Johnny didn't laugh. He knew the difference between eccentric and out of control, and what he saw that night was pure chaos. The interview started crumbling almost immediately. Capote mumbled through half-finished sentences, veered off topic, and dropped bizarre, awkward comments that had the censors scrambling behind the scenes. Johnny tried everything to save the segment, shortening questions, changing subjects, even cracking a few jokes to steer it back. But Capote was too far gone. Nothing worked. Then came the moment that broke the show completely. Capote launched into a rambling, explicit story about a wild Hollywood party, something so off the rails that it had absolutely nothing to do with what he and Johnny had planned to discuss. The audience shifted uncomfortably, the producers panicked, and Johnny knew it was time. He made a rare move. He cut to commercial early, something he almost never did unless it was a full-blown emergency. During that break, Carson leaned in close, looked Capote straight in the eyes, and said quietly but firmly, "Truman, you are not well tonight." There wasn't anger in his voice, just deep disappointment. When the cameras came back, Johnny wrapped the segment in under 4 minutes, making it one of the shortest guest appearances in Tonight Show history. As soon as the credits rolled, Capote was escorted off the set, and Johnny gave the order that couldn't be questioned. "He's not coming back." This wasn't about cruelty. Johnny understood pain. He had his own demons, his own struggles with loneliness and control. But showing up incoherent on national television was, to him, the ultimate breach of trust. It didn't just make the guest look bad. It made the show look sloppy, and it made Johnny look like he couldn't protect the legacy he'd built for over 30 years. After decades of charm, wit, and perfectly timed punchlines, Johnny Carson's Tonight Show throne stood untouchable. But behind that polished smile, his blacklist had become legend. It wasn't written down, but everyone in Hollywood knew it existed. If you embarrassed Johnny, betrayed his trust, or broke the invisible code of respect that ruled his stage, you were done. No apology, no second chances, no way back. Every person on that secret list shared one thing in common. They crossed Johnny in a way he couldn't forgive. And while the show rolled on with laughter and applause, Carson's memory of those moments never faded. His grudges lasted longer than some people's careers. Don Rickles, the roast that went too far. Now, Don Rickles and Johnny Carson had a unique friendship. Two kings of comedy who shared the same stage countless times. Rickles could insult anyone and somehow make them laugh about it. But one night, even his sharp tongue pushed too far. During a guest appearance, Rickles stormed into one of Carson's sketches uninvited, mocking his lines and calling him wooden in front of a roaring audience. Johnny smiled, at least on camera. But when the show ended, his mood flipped. Backstage, Carson's voice dropped cold as he said, "You don't ever interrupt my act again." Rickles laughed it off, but the tension never fully disappeared. Carson never banned him outright, but for years, he kept his distance, quietly making sure Rickles' invitations came less and less. Even the king of roasts learned that there was one person you didn't roast too hard: Johnny Carson, the blacklist that never died. By the late 80s, Carson's list had grown infamous in show business circles. Agents whispered about it, producers tiptoed around it, and publicists prayed their clients would stay on Johnny's good side. Wayne Newton, Joan Rivers, Charles Grodin, Shelley Winters, Truman Capote. 5 big names, 5 careers scarred by a single man's power. But what made it so chilling was how silent Carson kept about it. He never bragged, he never explained, he just erased people quietly, like they'd never existed on his stage at all. And in Hollywood, that kind of silence spoke louder than any scandal. Behind the curtain, why Johnny held grudges so deep. To outsiders, it looked ruthless, but those who knew him best saw something else. Johnny's grudges came from pain, not ego. He'd spent a lifetime guarding himself from betrayal. His childhood was cold, his marriages ended in heartbreak, and television became the only place he truly controlled. So when someone disrespected that space, whether it was Joan's betrayal, Grodin's arrogance, or Capote's chaos, it wasn't just a show being hurt, it was Johnny himself. The legacy lives on. When Carson finally retired in 1992, he never revisited those feuds. He didn't call, didn't explain, didn't forgive. But his influence shaped how talk show hosts handle betrayal to this day. Every late-night host, from Letterman to Fallon, learned the same quiet rule from the master: protect the stage, protect the image, and never let anyone make a fool out of you on your own show. Truman Capote never set foot on The Tonight Show again. That one disastrous night cost him everything: his credibility, his TV presence, and his access to the biggest stage in America. Without Johnny's couch, promoting his books and projects became nearly impossible. His career stumbled, and his charm, once adored, turned into a tragic reminder of what he'd lost. Johnny Carson, on the other hand, never looked back. He didn't revisit the decision, didn't rethink it, and never once softened his stance. The ban stayed in place, firm and final, until the day Johnny walked away from television, and long after that too. Now that you've heard the full list, the 7 guests Johnny Carson secretly banned from The Tonight Show, one big question remains: which one shocked you the most? And do you think any of them truly deserved the ban? Some say Johnny was justified, others think he went too far. What's your take? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know what you think. And if you loved diving into these hidden Hollywood stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. It helps the channel grow and keeps these untold stories alive. Hit that bell for notifications so you never miss a new upload. And as always, see you in the next video.